wait no longer. We are here and ready to start the stream. So, what we're going to do today? Well, I hadn't really made up my mind about this, and then we kind of have to either do system work or we have to do some data stuff. Okay, so I think we're going to do some research. And hey Dante, hey Anders, hey Erop and Jamie, how are you guys today? So, although we already have a research system, the fact of the matter is it doesn't actually do anything. On completion, hey Kofi, how are you, mate? So, with that in mind, let me know, by the way, if my mic is low. There was somebody complaining last night that my mic was low. So I'll try and move it a touch closer, and if necessary I can put the, the gain up. Anyway, so let's have a look at the research and let's work out a way of how we implement the various things within the research and how they are going to actually affect the game. Okay, so we have the data table. And so we have the probe, we have the image, we have the text, the category, research required, column, row, status, and effects text. That's cool, Dante. I think that's the way to go for yourself. Right, so we need a way for our research to trigger an effect. Right, now what I mean by that is if you complete probe 1, it obviously unlocks probe 2. Okay, but if we are doing like a, let's say, an increase in speed, let's have a look at it, right? Let's have a look and see what we're talking about. Okay, I'm going to close some of these tabs down that we're not going to use today, maybe. So we're closing down the AI for our enemy. I don't know who was here last night. A few people were, but let's have a look at this. Okay, so we'll start a new game and we'll call it research. Okay, and this was the effect of our squad AI last night. And you can see our little guys running to the correct spots. Okay, so the thing that we're interested in is this, okay? Now, I can start this, but when it completes, we need a way to trigger the effect of what it's going to do. So, for example, the probes may probe faster, or the probes may probe more stuff. Like they can search for like higher grade minerals, or you can have more drones or whatever, right? Mining may do like just the speed of the miner. Okay? Research might just speed up research and allow you to, well, there's also a research 1, 2 and 3 here, but smelting might allow you to make new things. Fabricator might allow you to make a new fabricator with 3 inputs instead of 2 and be able to make better items, etc, etc. Okay? So basically what I'm talking about here is I need a way to store what the effects of each of the research has. Okay? So, let's have a look at our research items again and see what we've got. Okay. Now, basically, I think what we shall do is we'll work with something simple first, like, for example, mining, okay? So all the mining is going to do is say mine faster, okay? So when we complete, basically we need a way of saying to all of our miners that they now work that much faster. Okay? So, what I think is, we're going to need another, we're going to need to amend the struct for this. And we're going to have a label if we haven't already. Okay. So, what we're going to need to do is go to the struct, go to here, and we're going to have to add a level. So we're going to have to say like research level, and it's going to be an integer. Okay. So now that that is done, what have we got? Research categories. Okay. That could be useful. But we'll go back into our data table. And we now have this. So what we'll do is for mining, we'll say level 1. Level 2. Level 3. Okay. And we can use this mining category now. We've got a research item here that we want to look at. What is it? Right, that's okay. Okay, so we go back to 1. And we do require something here. Ah, wait a minute. No, that's untrue. That's not true. Okay, we bin that. Right, it's only the subsequent ones that require this. So they require, like, this one here, the row number, right? And then this one requires the previous one, and that one requires the previous one, but mining 0 does not require anything. Okay? But we have got another table here, right? And that is for research requirements. And mining 1, we need to actually say what we require. Okay? So we add a requirement, and the requirement is research type 1, right? And let's say we'll require 10 because we're testing this, right? And we'll say process time is 10. And I'm guessing that this is for saving, but we shall just put research in current progress 0. And we shall save that. Okay. So we can stop that, and we can start it again. Is it going to start? Very humid here today. Very humid indeed the last few days. It's been kind of thunderstorms. Right, so what we can do is we can start the mining. Okay. And now what we need to do is we know that the research finishes. Okay. And that is going to be in the controller. So we need to check out the controller for our research stuff. So there's set current research, and we need to set up add worker to building. Oh yeah, we've got a research component, haven't we? Have we? Apparently not. But we do have, let's have a look. There, we've got add to research process and stuff. So we basically need to know when the research complete gets shown. Okay. So we have a widget for that. And here's the widget here. Right. Now we should be able to see we do have a component. Okay. So that would insinuate that we use our component or what I think is the research component is part of the research building. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to press play. We're going to continue, right? Then we're not going to do that. What we're going to do is we are going to create our buildings. And if I remember rightly, I didn't do this on stream, right? But we should in fact now these don't automatically show a recipe, right? No recipe selected, so I've got to select one. No recipe selected. Okay, so this was one of these jobs that kinda needed done. That I think I done offline. It was just one of those tidy up jobs, you know, the little annoying jobs that needed done. So I'm going to save that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to join this up. But the first thing we're going to do is we're researching mining. We've already set that. Okay. And we need to spin this one around just to make it simple. I don't know what you mean, Dante, by that. And the other thing, Dante, is what is it for? What is the purpose? Right, so I am guessing, right, that our research station is the thing with a research component. Yeah, there it's there. Yeah, but what do you want to do with the pictures and text? I'm an idiot. Right, okay, I'm an idiot. Because that's copper. Right, I need a mine that's bauxite. And that's another copper. Google Drive. Just use Google Drive. There is the answer to your question. Google Drive. then you can use Google Sheets to actually do the spreadsheet if you want, and then just save it on Google Drive. Just set up an account on Google Drive. You get about 5, I can't remember, it's enough space anyway. It's about 50 gigabytes or something like that. Can't remember, but something like that. Okay, so we'll try this again. If I set these up, yeah. Spin that around. Set this up again. We're getting to the point now where we need our saving and loading to work properly. Right. And I'm guessing right. We're looking at this component. Right. We're doing that. That's all good. That's all good. Right, that's okay. Okay, that's doing our other stuff. So where is it actually processing our research? So that's on begin play. We're setting a timer here for process. Interesting. Okay, so this is weird. Right. So what's going on here? Well, it seems like things have went to pot. Nothing's been built. It's definitely bauxite. It's definitely mining. But it's not putting anything on. Right, so there's some weird things going on here. Let's try this again. There's definitely some very strange anomalies going on here. So we're going to do this again. In fact, I think I know what it is. I think it was filled up with copper. Right, so close that. And the next thing we shall do is smelter. Right, that's bauxite, so that's fine. So we'll build a fabricator. Then we shall build our research lab. Okay. That's going to be research. Close that. And we're going to spin that around. And we're going to say mining. Close that. Okay, we'll save everything there. Right. Okay, and in here, yep, we're doing our research, that's fine. And we've got to give ourselves some more workers. So let's do that. And then we can speed this up. And this is not working. There is something very strange going on. So it's really a pain in the neck when something like this happens, when you want to work on something and something else has suddenly stopped actually working. Now the question has to be, are we processing? And it would appear not. Right? So if we stop this, let's have a look. We can continue this. And we can step over that. And the current recipe is none. Okay? So now what I'm wondering here is, if I now click on this and select this, we don't reset the process. Okay? We are not resetting the process. So here we have our interface calls. Right? And it would appear to me that our building is not resetting. So if we go to main, to building details, right, and it's going to be a recipe, and it's going to be in here. So it would look to me like in here we've got to say set the process, and don't know what it's called. Process. Okay, now the building. Okay, so what we're going to need is another actual interface call, right? So, okay, well, I suppose this is pretty interesting, sorting this issue out. I suppose it's reasonably interesting. Where's the building interface? Right, let's if we go to the refiner, we go to class settings. Right, it's on the base building. Right. So if we go to base building, class settings, and yeah, but we want to know where this is. But in the meantime, we can just start processing. Okay. And we're going to have to set this up. So for refiner, event, start processing, and then this is going to be start. It's going to be set the process. Okay, what's it called? Set process. Set process. Okay, and then in our widget, we're going to be going to the building, and it's going to be start processing. Okay. And then we're going to have to do it in here as well. That's if I can spell right. Bench start processing. Then set process. Okay. So that's on refiner, smelter, fabricator, event, start processing, set process. Okay, and then in the metalworks, It would appear it sounds like my dog is dreaming. Event. Start processing. That's going to be set process. Oh, apparently that's not set process. Okay. Whatever. Interesting. So what we're going to have to do here probably is we're probably going to have to delete the metalworks and then re-add it or something, or just copy the code from, let's say, the fabricator, right? So let's copy that. Right now, when we've set up we've set process. Okay, whatever. Alright, so if we go back to our metalworks, right, and then after this we say set process. Can save that, and then in here we can set process. Right, so that's a bit better. So now in theory, we are going to have to reset these, I think. Right, so we really need to know what this is. Well, that's okay. Process times 1. Right, so we should have a time. Everything should be cool. Right. Resume that. Disable that. Resume that. Right, close that. Then in here, close that. In here, research, close that. And we're already doing the research, so that should be fine. Okay, do that. we'll see how this goes. Okay. So we're definitely getting something. Definitely getting something out now. And now we can actually move on to fixing the thing that we're supposed to be fixing in the first place, rather than the thing that shouldn't have actually been broken. But I do actually understand why it was broken. It does make sense. And at least we've fixed it, so that should no longer be an issue for us. Okay, so it should all be good. What I'm going to do as well, the next time we stop this, is we're going to go into our FE controller and change the speed for time dilation. Okay, we're going to make this a bit more realistic. And we should be looking at the BPC research. Right. Because I really want to see what is actually driving our actual thing. Is this? Appears now that this is doing nothing. Unless I've changed the recipe for okay. Let's say input output. That's okay. Right, that's okay. Okay, so there's something weird going on. I've completely forgotten how this works, which obviously isn't the greatest of things. it should be processing, but it doesn't. But having said that, this isn't BPC research that we're looking at. So we actually want to go in here. Right, so this is more like it. Process research, etc. Right, now we've got something. But our major problem here is, whatever the issue is, it's further back because the smelter was producing stuff right, but the fabricator wasn't. Now I'm just wondering if I need to do a restart on this because the save game's fucked it all up, which tends to be the issue. But we're going to check on that when I come back from having a drink and a cigarette. I shall be back in 2 minutes, guys. Don't go anywhere. And you can check description for Discord, Patreon, all that stuff. Hit the like and subscribe, and I shall be back in 2 minutes. Okay guys, so let's get on with this. Let's fix this thing. So I'm going to restart. Then what we'll do is we'll gradually check each one as we go. Right, so we'll call it res 1. Okay. So we've been lucky, we've got the bauxite, okay? And we can spin this around. We select our recipe, accept that. So the next thing we do is we add to that. Okay. And our thing should now process. We can add some workers to the pile, and if you guys didn't remind me to change the time dilation, so here we do that. Then we check that the barrels start coming out of there, which they do. Okay, and the next thing we do is we make our fabricator. And that should all merrily work away there. Right, we can now select our thing, which worked. So we've got set process, and that's fine. If we step over that, right, we get our current recipe, and it should say like 30 seconds or something. Well, 10 seconds because we changed it. Right, but that's cool. So that's all good. So we should now be able to do that. That should go into there. And there goes our sheets, which is great. And finally, we should be able to build a research station. And at this point, we should be able to say mining. Close that. Then we should be able to spin that around. And then this should give us there we go. But the issue here is So we have our BPC, okay? This is our BPC research. Okay. We process research. Then we add to research progress. Okay, that's fine. So we go back here. Right, we're not worried too much about that. Check for research completion. This is on the controller. Right. And this is the one that creates our completion widget. Right, so if we resume this, right, we should be able to check on this, and we can see that this is gradually filling up, so that's great. Right, that's cool. And when this finishes off, at least we know now where we complete. Right, and there we go. Now, that's really interesting. Okay. So it took us straight right, so this is really weird. Right. So this is where it checks to see if the research is complete, right? So we come down here, we show that widget. And this is the thing here, research complete, right? So the question is, where is it showing that? We've got a reference viewer and it says controller. Right? So I can only assume that it's actually doing it in the FE controller. In this part here. And this is it here. Right, so once it goes into here, it's getting the struct research items. And it's setting to complete. Right, so that's fine. Then basically this is rubbish. Right, what it's doing is it's getting all the research trees and closing them, and then it's opening up a new research tree. Okay? So this might actually be okay, apart from this part. Right, but what we actually need to do is set the research to nothing. Okay. So in here, sorry, not in there, in our variables, we should probably struct current research should be reset to nothing. Right? And this should probably go in here. Right? Now, it kind of does make sense to show this window. Kinda. But basically not before this has disappeared. Right? But we should set this to nothing so it actually doesn't research anything. Right? So we're going to need to do some testing on this because this is going to get a bit complicated. And in fact, this takes me back to my original idea for this. And the easiest way to do this would be actually set these up. Right? So basically what I'm going to do here is set these all up. Right? Then we go with smelting and we add the requirements for this. These are all going to be the same to start with, right? But it's just so I can test out how it's working. And it gives me some options to do. Okay, and in the fabricator, same thing. And then we can start working on the actual rewards that you get when you actually complete a research. So we'll go through this one. Research 1, 10 items, current progress, research 1, 0. Oh, we need to add some times to this, so we'll say 10 there, 10 there. Just make sure these are filled in. And 10 there. And this actually means that we can begin to do this stuff. Okay, now what I've just realized as well is this struct here, this E research color, I'm just wondering if this should actually just be a linear color, right? But anyway, we won't worry too much about that for now. That's a bit of a red herring right now. Now, none of yous reminded me to change this. you nasty people out there. Forgetful people indeed. Right, so we'll leave time dilation there. And we're going to go back to our check for research completion. Okay. And now we can go res 2. Okay, this. Go back to our probe, click there, then going to do that. Then we're going to do our smelter, going to do our fabricator, and finally we are going to do our research station. We shouldn't really call the first one a recipe. Okay, we can disable that. Resume that. Close that. We can zoom these round. And what we need to do is check what this is, and it's bauxite, so that's okay. It's okay. Join these all up. Okay, and we can go add some people. Then we can speed things up a bit. That's going okay. Oh, we need to select something, so we'll select mining. So that's looking good. Okay, mining's just about done. Right, so now what we can do is we should be able to do refining. Okay, so check on this one, and that's now filling up, which is cool. Okay, cool. So this is all working nicely. Right, so these are now available, as you can see. So this is a research tree is all working as it should. But our issue is now, right, if we go back to our FE controller, this is resetting things properly, right? We didn't want this per se, but now what we're going to do is we need to know so we've got the struct research items. And we've got the current struct current research. So before we reset this, we basically need to tell it what we're going to do, right? So before we do any of that, I'm going to grab a quick cigarette and we shall move forward on this. So hit like and subscribe, check the description for Discord and all that stuff, along with Patreon and my other game to support the channel, and I shall be back in 2 minutes. Don't go anywhere, guys. Okay guys, we're back. Now, having my little thought outside, there are two things that are going to happen here. Right? So, for example, let's say we shall test on the minors, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to get our struct current research, okay? We'll move this out of the way over to here, and we're going to break it and this is just the current research requirements. Okay, so this doesn't really tell us the actual stuff. What we actually need here is the row from the data table. Right, which tells us that's the research requirements. But what we need is this information here, and it is going to give us the category. Okay? So that is fine, because the name is going to give us the row name that we want. So what we're going to do is we're going to say get data table row, and it's going to come from research items. Then this is going to go in here. Okay. So this is going to go here, and this is going to hide the connected pins. Okay, so now whatever we do, this is one row, right? In the out row, we're going to break it. Okay, and we are basically going to switch on this. So we're off and running again, guys. We are off and running. Okay, so that's all we want from that. And then each of these so we're going to get all actors of class, right? And the minors are going to be obviously the minors, right? So it's going to be BP minor, right? And we're basically just going to go down this row. Right, but we're going to test it with the minor, but there's no reason why this shouldn't work. So this is going to be refiner. This is going to be the smelter. then this is going to be the fabricator. Okay, and then we're going to be basically doing a for each. Right, I'm going to probably move the functions around for this. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to make another interface call, and this is going to be called update research. Okay, and then if we go back to here, we'll be able to say update research, and it's not going to be that. It's going to be update research message. Right, and that's how it's going to work. And then each of the different building types are going to tell us what they're going to do. Each building type will do maybe a different thing on the update research. Now the thing is that we probably are going to need two different variables, or at least one more variable, because we're going to need to pass in which particular research we actually did. Okay? Okay, because we might have done level 1 and we might have done level 2. So obviously each of the different upgrades are going to be slightly different, right? So upgrading a miner or updating the research on a miner from 1 to 2 might give you 5% increased speed. Whereas upgrading from mining 2 to 3 gives you 10%. Okay? So we need to know here which level we are going to. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our BPI building, and we're going to have an input, and we're going to say new level. Actually, we're going to say research level. Right, and it's going to be an integer. So we'll save that. Right, and the first thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to go into our struct, and we've got a research level now, which is cool. Right, but we now need to go into here and actually fill them in, right? So let's fill them in quickly. And we're going to have to update our buildings to basically have the same thing. That's 3. That's 1, 2, and 3. And that's 1. Two and 3, and that's 4. Now, some of these might not actually do anything, but they might unlock new buildings, right? So you might only be able to build a refiner level 2 when you've actually researched refining level 4 or something like that, if you get the idea, right? But basically all the buildings will start with a research level of 0, okay? So if we just fill these all in, I think that goes up to 5, which it does. And then once again, these might do something slightly different, right? But we can worry about that when we come to it. But the idea here is to start getting this stuff filled in so that we can actually do the things in the game that you're going to be able to do, right? The backup system or the back-end systems are functional for this. Like, as you seen earlier, we can research stuff and it completes. The only problem is, or at the moment, that we haven't completed the system to actually do the upgrade, right? So in our building, right, we can probably do a couple of cute things here, a couple of little fancy maneuvers, right? But fundamentally, we're going to need to go into our miner and set it up. And where's our miner? Don't know. So we shall just open up again. Right. So our next, we're going to have an event, update research. Or is it update research? Is that update research? Let's see what we called that. I need to think of a better way. Yeah, that update research, I'm not really keen on that, to be honest. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my I'm going to call it something else, right? I'm going to call it advance. I don't even like the name of that. So it's like, it's more like apply research rewards. Yeah? That's more what it is, to be honest. So if we save that, go back to our FE controller, and if we click on this, and we're going to be doing that. Okay. And that's looking good. And when we complete, we go to here. And that's about the way it's going to go, to be honest. I'll need to add these interface events to all of the different buildings. Right, so for example, in our miner, the mining speed right is going to be increased but the thing is that the actual mining speed and the mined per cycle, we're going to have to change this. These are going to have to be mining speed mined per cycle. We're going to actually have a base value for these. Right, now the question is, am I loading these from a data table? And I actually don't think I am. The only thing I'm loading from the data table is this struct group. This makes it easier and harder. Okay. What I'm going to need to do is I'm going to need to duplicate that. Right. And we're going to have a base mining speed. And that is going to be 1. Right? So that's fine. but our mining speed is going to have to be set here, right? And we have our mining speed, right? We'll drag that in. So we get mining speed. And let's say we're going to multiply that. So we're going to do float times float, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to do this. We're going to divide it by 10. Actually, we're not. We're going to pull this one in. And we're going to say divide by 10. This is just so I can get that up, right? So I can do this. Then I can divide it by 10. Right? Then I can add 1. And I can basically do that. Okay, so that's going to give me 1.1, 1.2, or 1.3, and then we can multiply, and it's actually going to be the base mining speed. Right? And then we're going to set the mining speed to this number here. So as I said, that's going to be 1.1, 1.2, 1.3. It's going to start at 0, or sorry, it's going to start at 1, right? Because it defaults to 1. And that's a simple way for me to actually change things by actually doing. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to set process. Okay, and then that will recalculate everything for us. So that's going to give us a 10%, a 20%, and a 30%. Okay, so maybe what we should do here for testing purposes right is just basically break this for now and just say 1.3. Okay, and I'm going to have to stop that and drag this out of the way. So what we're going to do is new game, we're going to say mine test. Okay, that. Right, we're going to do a probe here. Then we're going to set up our buildings. There's our refinery. There is our smelter and our fabricator and our research station. Okay, so we can spin that around and set it to that. We can set that and then spin it around. We can set that, spin it around, and then we don't need to do anything with that. What we need to do is copper ore. Okay, we kinda got ready for that by putting it up there. And while that's doing that, we can do the conveyor belts. Cool. And basically this should tell us, if we look at the miner, it's saying cycle speed product. So this should go to 1.3, and then the overall efficiency should go up as well if we can manage to get ourselves a copper mine, bauxite mine. Well, we've got our bauxite mine, so that's okay. Okay, so we can up the ante with that, and that's giving us 110%. And that should be that. Then we can hit our button and we can do mining. And there we go. That's set, that's okay. And there's our first one. That's good. Okay. We'll slow that down a bit again. And there we go. And we should be able to start doing, let's say, refining. But now the interesting thing here is, oof. Okay. Well, it appears that this didn't fire. And on that, guys, I'm going to call it for now. So if you've enjoyed the stream, hit the like button, hit the subscribe, check out the description for my Discord, which you're welcome to join. And if you want to support the channel, then there's my Patreon and previous game on Steam in the description of this video. So thank you very much and have a nice afternoon, and I shall join you back at 8 p.m. Central. Bye bye for now.